Recognizing the member for Cariboo North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to rise in this House today to discuss the need for equal pay in British Columbia. Tomorrow is International Women's Day, and this is a time to celebrate women's and girls' achievements in British Columbia and around the world, and for all of us to unite in our progress towards gender equality. Whether it be in the workplace, in schools, communities, women play a vital role in shaping our province, and they deserve respect and equal opportunity. It is truly remarkable the impacts that women have made in our province in the face of systemic gender issues. Women in our province continue to fight discrimination and challenging stereotypes while paving the way for future generations of female leaders. But while we reflect on the important contributions women have made, there is something that we all must do and not celebrate, and that is the undeniable unfair practice of unequal pay. BC has the largest pay gap in Canada and is one of only 4 provinces without pay equity legislation in Canada. Women in British Columbia make, on average, 18.6% less than men, and this means for every hour that a woman works in British Columbia, she earns $5.90 less than a man would. And this is on average. We must also consider the intersectional experiences of women in the workforce. Indigenous, racialized, and newcomer women and women with disabilities experience an even greater pay gap. This pay gap has persisted despite the incredible educational achievements of women in this province. According to Statistics Canada, women in British Columbia now surpass men in obtaining post-secondary degrees. 56.4% of post-secondary graduates in 2019 were female. Fields of study like health, education, social and behavioral sciences, and law saw a large majority of female students. More than 40,000 bright and ambitious women graduate with post-secondary degrees yearly. And despite this, women continue to be underrepresented and underpaid. Women who receive bachelor degrees in British Columbia earn on average $62,000 annually. Men with bachelor degrees, on the other hand, earn on average $86,000 annually. As the official opposition critic for advanced education, I'd like to highlight how the pay gap is reflected in our post-secondary institutions. Women represent only 32.6% of the faculty in British Columbia's post-secondary institutions. Again, this is despite women having the majority representation among the enrolled students. Within tenured faculty positions, men disproportionately hold the coveted positions of full professor, while women often hold assistant and associate professor positions. Female professors make, at best, 95% of what male professors do. And this is a pay gap that cannot be explained by age and rank alone, and exists even at the highest level of full professor. We all know this pay gap exists because the data exists. Salary disclosures was legislated for public sector wages in 1996, and since then, the pay gap has narrowed by 30 to 40%. We still have more work to do, and there are many things that we need to do to address support for women in the workforce. But this narrowing of the pay gap would not have been possible without pay transparency. It is now time to bring pay transparency to all sectors and industries. If we do not know the extent of pay inequality, we cannot begin bridging this gap. Mums at Work is a Canadian organization that advocates for women in the workforce. They launched an online job board that requires all job postings to fully disclose the salary range for the position. Alison Vendetti, the founder of Mums at Work, said, and I quote, "We've been talking about the wage gap since forever and a day, and this is one of the fastest ways to help fix that," end quote. International Women's Day is an important time to celebrate and reflect on the contributions of women, but we must strive for gender equality every day. 5 times My colleague, the member for Surrey South, has introduced the Equal Pay Reporting Act in this legislature to bring pay transparency to British Columbia. This act would require businesses to report out the pay gap between male and female employees. Last year, the Government of Canada passed the Pay Equity Act. It is now required for federally regulated workplaces with more than 100 employees to publicly disclose wage gap data for women, Indigenous people, persons with disabilities, and members of visible minorities. As one of the only provinces left without pay equity legislation, I would like to see this House come together and take collective action. If the pandemic has shown us anything over the past 2 years, it is the deep inequalities within our society and our economy. The pandemic has disproportionately impacted women, and the challenges that previously existed for women have only been exacerbated. We know that women have played leading roles in the efforts against COVID-19. And I hope that we can emerge from the pandemic with a more equal society, an economy that celebrates and respects the contributions of women in this province. Women deserve better, and it's clearer than ever that we must take action now, and that starts with closing the pay gap.